Okay. Hello everyone, I'm Alan, also known as McLaren 2009, and today I'm back playing Derail Valley. So we're picking up where we left off on Wednesday, and I'm currently up at the military base up in the mountains, and I'm going to be making a run back to the harbor. Except there's just one small problem. The things I'm taking back to the harbor are going to be those biohazard cars, and those empty nuclear flasks. Now, this creates a little bit of a problem because you may notice these nicely positioned flat cars that do not have a job at the moment. I gotta move these. I have to get them out of the way. So I gotta find a place to shove them. So what I'm thinking I can do, because these are 35,000 kilograms apiece, and those are empty. And then these, I think, are 17,000 kilograms total. Okay. I was close. They're 19,000 kilograms. So, oddly enough, the empty flask cars are going to have to be in front of these. So, what I'm thinking I'm going to do, I'm going to back up, hook up to these, pull forward, hook up to these, pull those out, shove them back onto this track, disconnect from the empty flat cars, disconnect from these cars, pull forward, back up, hook up to those, hook up to these, which will now be on the front by that sign, and then go over and hook up to those. And then we can get out of here and get rolling. But first of all, we got to get the jobs picked up. All right. Let's flip this and flip this. Guaranteed we're not getting a speed bonus, but we're just going to roll with it. It'll all work out in the end. Let me just get a drink real quick. I'm really curious how the update to the music in Streamlabs is going to go. So the good news is the playlist is completely different. The bad news is I don't know anything about it. So we're going to find out if it is truly as its name implies, and it is just chill. Prior to the update, there were a couple of songs that would play that I guess it could be relaxing, but it seemed more like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Alright, so we need this, not that. We need this, and we need those. Alright, so as you can see, about 70,000, a little over 50,000. So these two jobs will absolutely pay to refuel my locomotives. And then this one, actually, this one alone can pay to refuel the locomotives at the harbor because we can fit both DE6s in the roundhouse. Alright, so first things first, Yeah, we gotta get hooked up to we gotta get our locomotive set up. So let's get up here on the deck. Kick off the train brake and apply the independent brake. And we'll leave it in neutral until we get it running. Well, headlights don't do anything yet, but they will. One day. We're almost to the start of the second quarter. So that one day is actually getting here. Alright. There's one. Now let's get two. Alright, we go over here. Flip the breakers. Knife switch. Alright, now we go over here. Start the engine. Alright, now we're all set. So let's pop this thing into reverse. Throttle up, kick off the independent. Let's not speed up. Because even though it doesn't seem like much, 7 kilometers an hour is a little too fast to slam into a flat car. And I do just mean a little too fast. You'll cause like 10% damage. It's crazy. Would not recommend. 6 is probably fine, but generally, for the most part, it'll slow down to about 5 before it actually gets there. And we gotta go way back there anyway, so we gotta speed up a little bit because there's a kind of like a speed bump in the track that makes our life harder. But as we've said time and time again, that's getting fixed. But the good news is, the last time I got an explanation on how this works. Like, it's a physical thing that you can interact with, but only when you're, like, close to it. If you get too far away, like I might be just too far away for this car, it'll disappear completely. To save the performance of having to render something that can move when you're not close enough to see it. And the reason that that specific detail is important is because it disappears when you can't see it. And as long as it's coupled before you start moving, the game knows that it's coupled and it won't cause any problems. But when you go away, it has to draw them again, and then it puts them in whatever position it feels like putting them in. So it doesn't matter if the back is connected to the front or the front is connected to the back. It will literally pick one when you're close enough to see it. So for all practical purposes, it doesn't matter which way you do it because it's accomplishing the same thing. But the good news is it can still be kind of like my very ridiculous, borderline inside joke, because we can still place our bets on whether or not it will be front to back or back to front, because it is completely random. It is whatever the game wants it to be. Whatever position I put it in is probably not going to be the position it's in when I look at it again. Prime example. In the distance from walking from the end of the cars over there to this point. It was back to front, now it is front to back. And basically, I can still keep talking about it, but now it's not so much noticing a problem, it's noticing, let's play a game. Let's see what position it decides to put itself in at this exact moment. So, as long as we couple something, grab the air hoses, open up the air, it is now coupled. All is right in the world. So, we go over here, pop it into forward. Alright, we also need to make sure that this is not connected to this. It is. It should not be. Okay. Now that's dealt with. Alright, so game plan. Take these, couple in with these, pull these out, shove these on this track, drop those temporarily, go back, get those, pick up those, and pick up those. And then we are golden. We can head out and start making our way back down to the harbor. And it'll be another easy day. But, first of all, let's slam on the brakes a little bit. Alright, go over here, pop it into reverse, release the train brake, throttle up, release the independent brake, release the throttle because that's still, it's not quite going far enough to be downhill, but you do go uphill to get out of here. Now, you're probably thinking, aside from the couple of flasks down there, this is still extremely light, and most definitely not deserving of using 2 locomotives, and I completely agree, it's just, this is what we've got. So, we just have to make do. Uh-oh. Now this time we do not have that long of a distance to go, so we can't go very fast. Just out of curiosity, how far back do the flasks go? Not very. And it's 4 flasks. But they're empty, so it's whatever. Alright, it's just doing whatever. Alright, let me check on the stream, make sure that's going good, check on my microphone. I can still hear the background music. Alright, now, no, not that. I mean, that would work, but let's set the independent so that it doesn't roll on us. Go right here. It'll figure it out. Alright. So, we're connected to these. Run all the way back. Check right here. Pop open this valve, air's coming out. Switch it to forward. Throttle up, kick off the independent, and teleport back over here because that's where the switch is. Alright, now we need the last flat car to be past the switch over here. Alright. Oh, that's comforting. I finally got some more insight into the inventory today. I was curious if with the new UI for the inventory coming with the simulator update, I was curious how it was going to affect these little nodes and if we could still use it as like a tool belt in the simulator update. Well, it turns out these things have names. The developers refer to them as carabiners. And these are only in VR, but we'll have the like inventory somewhere down here, and then there'll be like the last 3 slots or whatever will be your quote-unquote carabiner slots, and you can determine whether or not they're visible, so you can turn them off when you're not using them. Like, I'm currently not using this one, so I could hypothetically turn it off when the update comes out. So that's really cool. I do kinda wish there was a thing like this not in VR, because like with Derail Valley and also with the game Phasmophobia, having access to this and being able to like clip things to your body. Oh, damn it. Being able to clip things to your body and then still hold things in your hand makes a world of difference. Like, it makes it so much easier to do it this way. So, like with Derail Valley, in the game as it is right now, I can have 3 little nodes to clip things to my body, and then I have 2 hands. So all the stuff that I'm doing right now, I can do with ease. Whereas, as the game sits now, even in like the flat PC version, this is what you have. So you have to pick like an item, and then you hold it in your hand, or you're looking at it, and then you gotta like scroll through to like find other things. And it's just kind of annoying. And then games like, say, Phasmophobia, you have 2 hands. Like on keyboard and mouse, you can like clip it to your right or your left hand, so you can hold 2 items. But then you only have those 2 items, whereas when you're playing in VR, you can quite literally have 4 items. Because you can have 2 things clipped to your belt, and then you can have 2 things in your hand, so you actually have like a notable advantage to playing in VR in Phasmophobia. However, on that same note, it kind of is a little bit of a give and take, because while yes, you do have that advantage of being able to carry more stuff, it's also more scary. So, give and take. But to keep it on topic with Derail Valley specifically, this remote control has a battery, and it has to be charged using the solar panel. it can only be charged when it has direct access to sunlight. Easy enough, right? Well, when it's in your inventory, it's not charging. So you have to take it out and set it somewhere, or you have to be actually holding it in order for it to charge. So in Derail Valley, if I'm playing in VR, I can clip the remote to my body so that it's always out and I can still use my hands to do other things. So this little tool belt gives you a slight advantage in VR. But at the same time, I kind of get that because the game was VR only before they brought in like the PC mode. So it would kind of make sense if the systems were originally built to be predominantly used in VR. But they changed that, and now they've made it so that both flat and VR are at an identical level with care, quality, time, and effort, all that fun stuff. Alright, we just gotta shove these in deep enough that we don't risk a collision when we go past. So, like right here is probably good. Alright, so pop off right here. Alright, and we go back here. Cut in right here. As a couple of people, myself included, were talking about like advantages of Derail Valley versus other games, I have yet to see another game that has this level of interaction with the components to couple cars. And that's easily one of my favorite parts about this, because my real life experience with the railroad has always been working with cars. So to be able to put on my Rift headset and for all practical purposes be teleported to this fictional nation in somewhere in Eastern Europe and be able to like walk around the very types of things that I worked with in real life and then actually use my hands and manually couple, decouple, connect air hoses, all of that stuff. Those are easily my favorite things about this game. Even though the equipment's not exactly like the most detailed and stuff like that, but just the level of interaction with doing the jobs, using the equipment, it's like no other game. Whereas something like, say, Train Sim World, you have the realistic equipment with varying levels of detail, but that's a rant for another time. But you have the realistic equipment, but you can't do a whole lot with it. Like, pretty much the extent of the coupling in Train Sim World is you can go to the back of the car or the back of the car, the locomotive, and you can click the mouse to flip the cut lever to unlock the knuckle. But that's it. Like when you automatically back up into the car, it automatically couples and locks the knuckle, so it requires no interaction on your part. It automatically connects the air hoses. If you're hooking up to a locomotive, it automatically couples the various multiple unit cables. It varies with routes whether or not you can even properly use the MU cables, but that's once again an argument for another day. Whereas in something like this, you have to throw over the hook to couple the locomotive, or you have to throw over the hook to actually couple the two vehicles together. You gotta tighten it down. I mean, you just click the button and it automatically tightens it down, so that's probably like the wrong argument to use, but you still have to throw the hook over, tighten it down, grab both air hoses, connect them, open up the valves, and then let air pass through, and now it's coupled. And then when you want to uncouple, you have to do that exact same thing, whereas comparing to Train Sim World, you just go back and you want to decouple, you just pop the cut bar, and it just automatically detaches everything. And then really, you don't even have to get out of the cab to do it, because you can do it from the external camera that floats along the entire length of the train. Where this is much more like manual. So like the hands-on aspect of playing this game specifically is like leaps and bounds above anything else. And as we can see, once again, this has decided we're going back to front now. So it spawned in that position. It is what it is. If anything, the kind of random aspect of where the levers are going to be actually kind of adds to my system that I have for my stream that I still haven't properly used. Mostly because it's a royal pain to go through the trouble to use it. But that's another thing. Alright, so now we go back over to the adjacent track, hook up to those empties, or not empties, hook up to the biohazard cars, and then we go over to the other outbound track, hook up to those biohazard cars, and all is right in the world. I finally got around to sharing my clip from earlier stream, like a couple weeks back, I think. I finally got around to sharing it on Discord, where the air hose of one flat car connected under and through the car behind it and coupled into the air hose on the other end. It turns out nobody has the slightest idea what caused that, and I guess I'm the first person that reported that specific thing. So, achievement unlocked. I found a bug nobody else had seen before. And who says I'm not doing anything? Alright. So, get the flasks, pass the switch, actually flip the switch this time because that was what I messed up last time. I pulled forward, but I forgot to change the switch. So, as a matter of fact, let's put that into the thing. There. Now we've added it to the stream. Alright, flip the switch properly this time. And while we're at it, we also need to make sure this is aligned. It is and isn't all at the same time. Alright. Now let's slam these heavy flasks into these flat cars and go from there. It'll be great. Alright, we're still only going 4 kilometers an hour, so we're not going to love tap the cars. Now, realistically, with how heavy these are, at any speed, being in front of it would be a bad idea. Which is exactly why when I was telling that story before, in a much earlier stream, about how when I first got to the factory, when I was a welder, we got the training that if we ever have to try and move a car by hand, usually it takes multiple people. Like, one person generally isn't strong enough to make it roll too easily unassisted. But if you have to move a car by hand, it is important that you stand behind it and push instead of standing in front of it and pulling. And the reason that you do it that way is because if you're behind it and pushing and it starts going faster than you would like, you are not going to be able to slow it down. So if you're in front of it trying to like push back against it and it's going faster, you aren't slowing it down. It's a couple thousand pounds. It's gonna win. Well, one guy, not even like a couple of months into my time with the company, for whatever reason, he did not follow the instructions and he was in front of the car and pulling it, and somehow his steel-toed boot ended up on the track in between the edge of the wheel and the track, and it crushed the steel toe on his boot to the point that his boot had to be cut off. So it just goes to show it's simple physics. Force is mass times acceleration. This is a lot of mass. Any amount of acceleration means it's going to take a lot of force. So bottom line is, heavy things moving any speed is going to cause problems. So we go back here, make sure this is good. Air's flowing through it. And switch it into forward, throttle up, pull forward. And just like that, we're rolling. But we gotta go over here. And we have to flip this switch. Alright, we can knock off the throttle, because we don't need to get carried away here. And it's actually pretty handy that we have those up front, because these are going to go to the inbound track at the military base. Whereas the flasks are going to go to a storage track. Now, the good news is there aren't a lot of storage tracks on the harbor military base, so you're kind of limited on where they're going to end up. But it's whatever. Alright, so switch it into reverse, throttle up, kick off the Independent, and let's watch this nicely slam into our bioweapon over here. Or at least it's what I can only describe as a biological weapon. Because you look over here at the placard, what does it say? Or you look over here at the card, it says the cargo is classified. Well, classified biohazard. The only thing I can do, or the only thing I can think of, is put 2 and 2 together, classified biohazard, biological weapon. So, my headcanon, we're carrying some, like, Resident Evil style, like, bioweapon. In fact, if you remember the third Resident Evil movie, when they had the shipping containers with zombies in them to try to mess with the human survivors, that's what I think is in the box. More than likely I'm wrong, but in my mind, that's what's in the box. Either that or, like, the T-Virus. Because only something that you're, like, not supposed to have is going to have something where you can't know what the cargo is. Because it's, like, entirely... not that button. It's entirely counterintuitive to what these placards mean. The placards are on the vehicles and containers specifically so that you can identify a problem if there's an emergency involving these types of things. And by not knowing what that is, and it's not paired with anything else, and then you look at this, and it's just like, oh, it's classified, you can't know what it is. And then you're like, well, if this thing catches on fire, are we talking about, like, some kind of a disease, medical waste? If this box catches on fire, is there going to be something spicy in the smoke coming off of it? That's what you're trying to find out with the placards. So it just says biohazard, but is it poison? Is it medical waste? Although realistically, all of that information would be found on, you look at this, this would be essentially our manifest or shipping papers. This would tell you what is in the container. But, as you can see, it says deliver classified. So, my headcanon, we're carrying some, like, biological weapon. And I'm just going to assume the worst case scenario and say that if we successfully blow up this car, it's going to be an aerosol weapon, and we're all just going to get sick and die. But there's probably a good reason Derail Valley is empty. It's secretly been like the exclusion zone at Chernobyl this whole time. The player character is being radiated as we speak. I mean, that is an option. All right, let me pop this into forward. Okay. I've been at this for 41 minutes and I've accomplished nothing. You know, there's a slim chance that the not getting speed bonuses might just be a me thing. Alright, let's kick off the independent break and onward into oblivion. Alright, let's knock off the throttle, even though we're going to need it real soon. Oh, actually, we're really not. This is going to be an extremely light load, especially when an empty car weighs more than the loaded car. But, to be fair, look at what they're carrying. Car's 35,000 kilograms. The Type C container, which I should remind you is like a mix of lead, steel, and concrete. The flat, or the container itself, is 52,000 kilograms. But granted, that's not including the tare weight, that's the container with the fuel. What would be kind of cool is if there was a job where instead of carrying the flask car by itself, if you had the empty container on the flask, kind of like when you do the quote-unquote freight mission that's actually a logistics mission, where you take the empty containers back to the port. Because, like, the flask car by itself isn't particularly useful. Unless they just have a bunch of... I mean, I guess they would have a bunch more of the containers wherever they're generating the nuclear fuel, so at your power plant. At least that would be my guess. All right. Actually, I need to be on here. If I can get on here. Okay. Alright, and the reason I need to be on here is because I'm going to get out my remote over here. And as soon as we're past the switch over there, I'm going to switch it to be realigned with the right because that's the way that I'm going to come from the next time that I come this way. Because everything I do is just in the interests of basically having an easy task of moving through the area next time I come this way. So everything I do, it's not about this specific job, it's about the next job. So I try to flip every switch so that it's aligned specifically. It's aligned specifically to go through the next time. And since coming up to the military base, the best way for me to do it is to go up the way by the steel mill and north, and then you come in this way and then go past here and back into the military base instead of coming up that way and then pulling in nose first, because that's kind of a dead end back there. Like, it's a really dead end if you get all the way back to the bunker. And slowing down to like Notch 1.5 is the prime example of this load is light. Alright. And we go through the switch. Alright, now let's get up here. Up here. Alright, let's put that away. And let's drop down the map. Hit the horn. And let's just go through here, and everything's good. Alright, now in theory, when I did the delivery from the coal mine to the steel mill, I realigned this switch after I went past it so that I can just go this way. So I shouldn't have to worry about inadvertently going right when I don't want to. But still have to stay alert just in case. And the speed limit's only 40 anyway, so going 30 isn't bad. The coal mine is pretty cool, though. I don't think I've gone to Iron Mine East, though. But the coal mine's cool. And basically, it starts going downhill pretty soon. But we already know that this load is light. So coming down the mountain isn't too bad. Especially not with, like, this specific cargo. Alright, let me get a drink. Alright. So for those of you that are just tuning in, what I'm working on right now is carrying some empty nuclear flask cars and 2 loads of flat cars carrying classified biological material. And we're going from the mountain military base back down to the harbor military base. So we've got some horror movie level spicy cargo. And we're running down a mountain at speed. I mean, I say we're doing it at speed, but we're not. We're going 50. And I'm slowing down to get back under 40. Even though I don't really need to. But according to that sign back there, we're going into a valley anyway, which will make it a little bit interesting. Although some valley, it's just getting steeper. Wouldn't this be fun if we had, like, a load? We might as well be empty at this point. I'm using 2 DE6s, but I didn't need to. I could have just turned on one of them, and this would have been fine. But it is what it is. I guess realistically I could have brought the caboose along. Whenever I clear the caboose, it always ends up down here. Which is not a good place for it, but at least it's out of the way. You would think that they would just teleport it back to the garage you find it in. But I guess just putting it on a random track in the middle of nowhere is less of a problem. I mean, I guess if I really wanted to, I could teleport it to the tutorial building and just dump it in there. And that would be cool. I didn't like that sound. It wasn't the derail ping, so I think we're still good, but I should be careful anyway. Alright, good news. I did flip the switch to realign to go left towards the harbor instead of right towards the steel mill. Alright, we gotta slow down. Because apparently it gets rough in these parts. The train driving is going fine. And yes, I decided to make you a mod after we were talking yesterday about the stream commands, or at least the guy that was watching was asking about them. Although the commands for the death and derail counter are slightly different to actually increase the counter versus seeing the counter, if that makes sense. Like the things that I have on the screen for like the feed information, that's so a viewer can see what the current count is, with the exception of the last one. But yeah, it's whatever. Alright, the speed limit is still 30. Well, 70 now, but it was 30. Alright, so this is going all kinds of crazy. Got empty nuclear flasks and some sketchy biohazard stuff. And I'm making my way down to the harbor. You know, for being generally straight, this is a really low speed limit zone. I mean, it kind of makes sense. We're going downhill, so you don't want to, like, rush it. It's just weird. And going uphill is easy. Going downhill is the thing that's going to get you killed. So it kind of makes sense to make it a little bit slower going down. But that's also why when you're driving down the road, you'll see signs that tell trucks to have a much lower speed limit going down a steep hill. In some places, it might even be like half the speed limit for a car. I don't know if it's like an official rule that you have to do it, but whenever I go through those areas, I always turn on the hazard lights. It's like, yeah, I'm only allowed to go 20 miles an hour, so I don't kill anything. So I'm just going to turn on my four-way flashers so that you guys know that I'm heavy and going down this hill slow. That's what I did. And then the same thing kind of applies to trains, except the major difference is a train is infinitely heavier than a truck. So, like, going down a hill in a truck, even with, like, 80,000 pounds, you're not gonna break a sweat for anything less than, say, 5% grade. Whereas in a train, if it gets up to 3%, you're gonna potentially have a bad time. So it's just like completely different, like, worlds, like different outlooks on it. So yeah. Oh, that's the goods factory. Goods factory's cool. Alright, so we pretty much don't get out of the mountains until pretty much all the way down here. Like, this corner is like the last thing in the mountains. And for the most part, it's all downhill. Unless you're going the other way, in which case, good luck. I think that Y only goes one way. So yeah, even though it's kind of long and drawn out, this is still the best way for me to get to the military base. Just go out the west end of the harbor, go up here, go through the steel mill, past the goods factory, up, past, go past, back in. That's just how I choose to do it. It just works that way. Now the good news is, even though my load is extremely light, since I'm going downhill, all I'm doing is using the brakes. Just got the train set to idle, and we're just coasting. So basically this nothing load is going to cost even less to refuel because we're not using a whole lot of fuel. So it's just whatever. Alright, let's apply some more train brake. Basically, I do everything based off of two different... I do everything on a speed zone. I have, like, my high safe speed and my low safe speed. So I'll let it coast until we get to the high speed. Then I'll apply just enough of the train brake to start slowing down. And then I'll completely release it when I get near my low safe speed. And I know that when I release the train brake, it has to build pressure back up in the pipe. So it's going to keep braking until the pressure is equalized again. So it's going to take a couple extra we have a couple extra seconds of braking force while we build pressure back up, and then we just let gravity keep us going. And for the most part, it works fine. Except for apparently now, where I gotta throttle up. Because we found the one uphill section. I mean, I guess that part's not really in the mountain. It kind of cuts through a valley, so it's a little bit different, but it's whatever. Let's slow down. I would really love to know why my controller's messing up and telling me to move right when I don't want to move right. But it's whatever. Alright. Oh yeah, you can see the castle thing right there. Yeah, there was one of the update videos that had like a train coming out of that tunnel on that side and just like immediately flying down the hill, and then the video ended with a shot panning up to look at the castle, And naturally, I'm just like, are we going to talk about that? Like, has there always been a castle there? Well, then somebody else that isn't one of the developers posted a picture of where they actually went up to the castle, and it's like, yep, the castle's been here the whole time. But I had just never seen it before because I don't really come this way very often. But since I started streaming Derail Valley, I've started coming this way more often because the military cargo is interesting, to say the least. You bring nuclear fuel and ammunition coming up, you bring biohazard stuff coming down. It's a vicious cycle. No. It's really weird that it only seems to do it in this game. I don't have this problem in any other game. Maybe I need to validate my files again. Because I can switch over to, like, Iron Wolf, VTOL VR, H3 VR, and I'm not just randomly sidestepping right. I don't know why I'm doing it in Derail Valley specifically. Because if my controller was dying, I would be doing it in every game, not just this one. I know they said they weren't touching the map with the simulator update, but I'm kinda hoping at least some of the things that are visible from the track get, like, stitched up and they plug some of the random holes. But it's not the end of the world. It's just there's a couple of areas, specifically coming out of the west side of the harbor. When you go up there, there's like a hole in the mesh where it just kind of like rips apart and you can see through the game world. Little stuff like that, and then like that random cube-shaped trench back there. Those are little things I would like to see fixed. And I have some faith that it might actually get fixed. Mostly because they basically rebuilt the game from the ground up. They basically remade the game and they're releasing it as a free update when it's almost a whole nother game. Because when other people start asking about like the problem with the switches and slowing down or even completely stopping a train altogether, when other people ask about those things, I've seen a few people ask like, well, if you know it's a problem, why can't you do like a hot fix and just like patch out that specific thing? Like fix the switches in the world now. And the response that I seen to that was that they rebuilt the engine the game works in. And in this current build, they can't fix it. However, it is fixed in the new build with Simulator. So we just have to deal with it until then. But Q2 starts tomorrow. So good news. Oh, and on a completely different note, I found out, I don't know how reliable this source is, but one of the people that I was playing with in my VTOL VR stream, where I opened up testing my map to the public, I was talking to a few of the random people that joined, and they were saying that apparently the next aircraft that's being released in the sort of near future, apparently it's an electronic attack aircraft. So either along the lines of the EA-6B Prowler or the E-18G Growler. So that'll be kind of interesting, so stay tuned for that. I mean, the T-55 DLC was just like $5, so I was just like, alright, cool. Got another plane to fly. But, as we already know, I really like simulator games in VR. So, trains, planes, tanks, submarines. I do it all. Simulators are just my thing now. I'm now apparently one of the channels you can find on YouTube when you look for VR simulators. Which is not bad considering I have 83 subscribers. And somehow I'm starting to see my own videos get recommended. So someone somewhere is noticing something. So that's pretty cool. Alrighty. Oh no, you can't do anything with that, but you can do this, and it turns on the pretty blue light. Doesn't do a thing in the game, but it turns on a light. Apparently that was part of an inside joke that I was not party to within the Derail Valley Discord server. You ask what the switch does? Nothing, it turns on a light. But still pretty cool. Now, while we're on the subject, let's go back and take a look at our coupling. At the moment, it is still front to back. Alright. And our MU cable is causing all kinds of chaos, so we're just going to walk away from that. Oh boy. Okay. No, turn that around. It'll be kinda cool when the simulator update comes out and we no longer have the controllers visible and they start to become, I think they said, contextualized hands that actually like grab the levers and stuff like that. So that'll be pretty cool. Is there a bug on my nose or something? It's getting annoying. But it's whatever. Tighten my headset back up again. It's starting to get a little bit weird. And the background music is still working. And the playlist is completely different from what it was before. Like, I haven't heard a single thing that I recognize. So apparently when they updated the playlist, they changed, like, everything. So that's some good news. Some of the stuff in the old playlist was a little bit weird. It got so weird, in fact, I had to basically change. I had to change the volume and make the background music quieter, because there was like one song in particular that always came up at like the 2-hour mark, and usually around the 2-hour mark is when I start getting like tired of streaming, so I'm not like talking as much, and you could hear the music playing loud in the background, and it would always pop up as being copyrighted when I transfer it over to YouTube. Not like copyright strike, because it always has like the comment saying that you're allowed to play it on YouTube, but it would always flag as being copyrighted. So if I actually get big enough to start monetizing my videos, it may cause a problem then. But until that point, it's just whatever. Although, if I'm being completely honest, I didn't really think I was gonna make any like progress or ever get paid to like stream. Personally, I didn't even think I was gonna make it past the like 50 subscribers that I had like at the beginning of the year, because I was just like, I barely ever put out content. Like, what are people watching? And then now I got up to like 80 subscribers, and then I started streaming on Twitch, and I got up to 18, I think I'm on now. And I've been doing this for 2 months now. So I'm slowly starting to get it figured out and get like all of the little moving parts on my channel to where they look a little bit better and all that fun stuff. Alright, and we're about to come in the back door of the E-Track. Successfully made it to the harbor. And this specifically is why I always align the E and G tracks to go through, specifically for this purpose. There's another track over there, but all it does is just climb a hill to nothing. So don't go up there with cargo. It'll just end badly for you. Alright, let's put this away. Let's get the remote back. Put that down there. And... well, I mean, they're all going to the military base, so... Alright, see, these are both going to the inbound track, as you would expect. And this one is going to a storage track. Also, as you would expect. Alright, so let's go over here. And let's speed up a little bit. Ooh, we got excavators. Now the question is, are those being sent out? Or are those being unloaded? They're probably getting unloaded here in the harbor. Because they build the excavators up in the machine factory. So it wouldn't make sense to import them. I mean, I say it wouldn't make sense, like any part of the cargo or jobs in this game makes sense. It doesn't. It's all kind of like random and just whatever. But it is what it is. Alright, now the thing is, we gotta go past the switch for the military base, and then we're gonna go up the mountain, sort of, but we don't have to go far, because we've only got 11 cars behind us. So we don't have to go up far, but we have to go far enough to back up into the military base. And then the rest is easy. Alright. So, past the offshoot for the C track. I guess if I really wanted to, I could go down there and then turn around and then back straight into the military base instead of backing through the curve. But in the grand scheme of things, what difference does it really make? I'm still getting turned around and I'm still backing into the military base. It's just a matter of where am I going to do it. Because in order to keep facing this specific direction, when I come out of the military base, I'm going to have to go out that way anyway and then back up so that we can back into the roundhouse to get refueled. So I'm going to have to go that way regardless. So it's just interesting. What time is it? It is 2:23. Not bad. Although I'm pretty sure the switch is on this side, so I should jump off on this side. Even though somebody previously had told me that you always jump off on the engineer's side. As we've said time and time again, the FRA is not in Derail Valley. Oh, I Yeah, I guess I didn't flip that switch. Well, live and learn. Yep, switch is on the left side, so I'm gonna jump off on the left side. I guess realistically, if I really wanted to, I could go through the trouble of switching this locomotive around so that they're back to back. But I just like doing it this way, I guess. Alright, hit the horn. Maybe. It'll figure it out. Alright, we do need to throttle up because it didn't affect the locomotive, but it's affecting the cars. Which is kind of weird. Usually it's the other way around. Alright, train brake, no, train brake, independent brake, kick off the train brake, pop it into reverse, throttle up, kick off the independent, and let's get backed up. Now we got to be careful right here specifically because there is a slim chance that even though I'm going 11 kilometers an hour backwards, it may get abruptly stopped and will start going like 2 or 3 kilometers an hour forward. It's kind of like weird. Alright. And I got that little white dot in the center of my headset again. It'll go away when I take off the headset. It's whatever. It'll be really cool when the sounds actually do something. That's one of those details that I didn't think I was looking forward to it, but then it turns out sound is actually like a really important deal with video games in general. Alright, so this should be B7? Alright, where's 3? Of course 3's over here. Oh boy. Alright, so 3's over here. See what I mean? Oh, and as you can see right there, it was specifically the locomotives that got messed up. So apparently there's a better explanation of what exactly it's doing over there. Apparently the problem is that the wheels specifically, when they pass through this like invisible wall, and it doesn't affect everything, but they pass through the invisible wall, and apparently the wheels kind of like have like their wires crossed and they start going the opposite direction. And since it doesn't universally affect every car, it's kind of like random when it happens. That's why it doesn't consistently like break things. It's like, say, hypothetically, the DE6 has two different trucks with 3 axles each. Say it's like just affecting that specific truck. It's changing the direction the wheels are spinning on that one, and then it kind of like causes you to slow down and move in the opposite direction. But it's not all switches all the time. It's just some of the switch. It's just it can happen to any of them, but it's not like consistent. Although it feels like it's consistent when it's the same switches doing it every time, but it's not always the same switches every time. It's just the places that I go, these are the ones that I see it happen the most. Although apparently, if I actually started using the mods and things, apparently one of the realism mods, or actually, it might even be the coupler mod specifically, one of them, it cleared up this issue. But since I never really got into the modding scene, even though I certainly could, I'll more than likely just end up waiting until Simulator comes out. It's not game breaking, it's just a nuisance. And the weird quirks kind of like add to the charm, if you will. Alright, go over here, release this, release that, release that, release that. Alright, now this one is 76. 76. 76. And 28. Okay, so cut here. Normally, I would have tried to get it so that the load with the 4 cars would have been up front and the 3 would have been in the back, but I decided to take the easy way out and just do it in the order that I could get to them in. So I used these cars to get the flat cars out from in front of the flasks, and so they were just there, and then I attached the flasks, attached these, and then I had to go 3 tracks over to attach the other ones. So it just worked out like this because the one with the 3 cars was closer than the one with the 4 cars. So just being lazy, I did it this way. kick off the independent. And really, there's nothing we need to do right here. However, we need to flip this switch, but that can wait. Because I need these. Go in here. Turn in that. Turn in that. And it's supposed to take 37 minutes, took 89. Good thing we're not worried about speed. Alright, now we got 4 flask cars, and we just got to get them over to the storage track. So, easy day. Then we go back around this curve, back up, and back into the roundhouse, refuel these, and go on about our business. Alrighty. And as you can see, it's already kind of doing its own thing. It's really annoying, but it's not the end of the world. Now, what's interesting is... Oh yeah, there's plenty of space. The flask cars are kind of short. So we can definitely fit 4 cars between here and this sign, or between this sign and over there. Yeah, I'm not even worried. The other problem is that one of these switches is also pretty notorious for giving me problems. But see how the flask car is like just over half the size of the locomotive? Yeah, we can definitely fit 4 right here. There's going to be a lot of distance between here and there. Oh yeah, it's not even close. And slam on the brakes. And we go over here, pop off this. Alright. And go forward. Alright, and let's ease off on the throttle, go turn this in, and then we get turned around, get backed up in the roundhouse, go over to the station office and see what we got going out, and we're golden. $18,000. Why did I think it was only 15? Oh well. It doesn't matter. Drop that in there. Anything cool? Nuclear fuel, and that's about it. Oh wait, no, what's this? Well, there's some bad news with that. So probably not gonna do that one, if I'm being honest. Because that is probably these right here. Yeah. That's going to be a no just because it's a pain to get it out of there. All right. Now we get these backed up. Go over to the civilian station office because I'm not going through the process of digging out those boxcars. Even if they're going somewhere I want to go, or they're going in the same direction as whatever my next load is, that's just so much work. What was that? Something made a weird noise. And I can't slow down too much because we're pretty much going to come to a complete stop when we get to the turntable. It says you can go 20, but do not go 20. Alright. Yeah, see what I mean? You're going to come to a complete stop when you get to the turntable. Let's see, what locomotives do we got in here today? 11, 85... 15 and 53. Okay, let's go up here, turn this off, and turn this off. Clip through the wall, and we've used barely a third of the diesel. I do wonder if the fact that the trucks kind of like change directions on you, if that's causing some of the wheel problems. Alright, now for the hard part. Alright, so we just gotta back it up far enough to get the lead locomotive on this pad. Okay. Go up here, kill the lights, kill the engine. It'll be really interesting to see the damage system when you can actually like blow up the locomotives. So they just kind of like added fuel to the fire of the Derail Valley's a horror game now, because you can actually make a ghost train appear. And in total, about 12,000. Well, it's going to be a little over 12,000, because there's going to be a couple hundred in environmental fees. But that's whatever. Bottom line is, just the logistics haul alone paid for both of these. Okay, good to go. And everything else is good. So let's go over, pay our fees, and all is right in the world. And while we're at it, we can get a rough idea of what's going out of here that I can work on next time. I need my wallet. Fees. 320. Alright, if I look at stats, what's my copay looking like? Oh, 1.1 million. Yeah, so I know even less about why the copay paid for my maintenance at the military base, but that's not important. Alright, what do we got down here? Shunting, going to City Southwest, Goods Factory, that's pretty cool. Food Factory, that's going to be a no. City Southwest and Machine Factory, those are good. That's a good route. Another going to City Southwest. Oh, 2 trains of gasoline. Machine Factory, Steel Mill. Alright, so it's looking like we can do a Machine Factory and City Southwest run. So we can do the gasoline and cryo oxygen. That is seeming like the move. Oh, we can have a big train of just gasoline. Alright, that seems to be the thing to do. Alright, so let me get a drink real quick. So, as a bit of a recap of what I've accomplished in this stream, came down from the military base up in the mountains and brought a section of empty nuclear flasks and 2 cuts of classified biological material and brought them back down here to the harbor military base, refueled the locomotives, and all of that is good to go. Next time, when I stream Derail Valley, which, as long as I stick to my schedule, should be Monday afternoon, I will be working on hauling gasoline to City Southwest and apparently cryo-oxygen going to the machine factory. So it's going to be a very spicy train that's going to be prone to questionable results and fireworks. But we all know that I drive slow and carefully anyway, so it's not going to make too much of a difference in the grand scheme of things. But this seems like as good of a place to stop as any. So this has been Derail Valley. Thank you all for watching, and have a nice day. Stop freaking out real quick.